Good morning, and thank you for joining us on day 3 of the San Francisco Small Business Week. We kicked off this week with Mayor London Breed giving a great keynote. We heard from Asian small businesses with Next SF, and the CDMA had their Rise San Francisco Gala event. What a wonderful week. I encourage you to visit sfsmallbusinessweek.com to check out more things that are happening this week, and thanks so much. Today, we continue with San Francisco's Small Business Week as we dive into a topic that is so important to keep top of mind for our community, especially during the past 14 months. We will hear from our presenting sponsor, Bank of America, as they reimagine your business journey and embrace bold new ideas. We will discover new solutions tailored to conquer today's hurdles and learn about bold ideas and how to manage your business into the future. Before we jump into the panel, I want to take a moment to shine a light on why we are here this week. I recognize our incredible and resilient small business community. The San Francisco Chamber of Commerce is proud to represent a vast small business community who are the backbone of what makes our city thrive. So let's learn more about San Francisco's small business community and the Chamber member, David Perry and Associates, Inc.
Small businesses are a large part of why people love San Francisco. It gives them personality, supports communities, and are the beating heartbeats that give the city life. From the corner grocer to the neighborhood bar, we have seen how important they are to making life in the city by the Bay thrive. And lately, they've needed help. Here's just one story in which Bank of America has been there.
My name is David Eugene Perry. I moved to San Francisco in 1986. Started work as the advertising manager for San Francisco Opera, and over the next few years started my own public relations consulting business. And then in 1999 launched David Perry and Associates Incorporated. So we've been doing this now for 21 years. We're a small boutique public relations agency. We're 3 full-time people, but we also have 11 associates who we have work for: videographers, website designers, editors, people who we usually have more than enough work for. Every small business I know, including ours, would not have made it economically through 2020 if there had not been significant help. We applied for the PPP. It was incredibly complex. It was also very frightening. I mean, it's never easy when you have someone look at your finances, even when you're not in the middle of the worst pandemic in 102 years. And I really have to thank our bank since 1986, Bank of America, for helping us walk through the process. And I know there were many other financial institutions that did the same. What we did creatively to keep clients and even get a couple of new clients during COVID, which surprised us, was to put ourselves out there more than usual. It's kind of a stereotype in public relations and marketing that the first budget line that gets cut is always PR and marketing, which usually when you're having an economic downturn is the thing you need most. So we worked for free for a number of clients to, 1, help them because it was the right thing to do, but 2, for our own business, David Perry and Associates Inc., to keep ourselves visible. So I think the biggest thing that will remain with us, and this is a business answer, is our ability to not be ashamed of being compassionate. I think that our ability to feel and keep compassion is something we will get out of this. Please join me and the San Francisco Chamber of Commerce in supporting small business. Small business is the backbone of the United States economy. It is the backbone of San Francisco's economy. And it is why we will bounce back bigger than ever. Never forget, San Francisco is the city that knows how.
Thank you, David Perry, and thank you for being that consummate small business member for the Chamber of Commerce and being part of that small business community here in San Francisco. I want to thank Bank of America again for their continued support. And now I'd like to pass the mic to Sara Conlee, Senior Vice President, Bank of America. Sara, take it away.
Welcome to San Francisco Small Business Week, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Sara Conlee, SBA Market Executive for Bank of America. Today, I'll be leading a conversation around reimagining your business journey, sponsored by Bank of America. During our discussion today, we'll recognize the numerous and unprecedented challenges we faced last year. In California, we were one of the first states with mandatory shelter-at-home orders in response to COVID-19. And most non-essential business owners got hit hard, with business revenues halting overnight. In response, we watched new financing sources emerge, opening new doors to access capital and help a business navigate the pandemic. Today, we'll take a deeper dive into these solutions and discuss new tools and resources that have helped business owners not just navigate the pandemic, but grow and thrive as we enter this next phase of reopening and growing our economy. It is my pleasure to introduce our panelists. Ammre Barakat, Senior Vice President, Small Business Banking Manager, Jonathan Dack, Senior Vice President, Senior Business Development Officer, SBA Lending, and Heidi Racherla, SVP, Community Relations Manager. If you would like to learn more about these subject matter experts, their bios can be found in the speaker section on the event site. One of the consistent stories we've heard over and over throughout 2020 was the fact that the health crisis challenged businesses to rethink their business strategies, requiring them to pivot and reimagine their business priorities and operations. Ammre, I'd love to start with you. What have you seen business owners do over the past year to pivot?
That's a great question. A lot of businesses were able to actually take inventory of their own expertise and then really quickly align with some of the challenging needs of the market. The ones that have been able to do that have actually been a lot more successful in weathering the pandemic. I think the key here is really innovation. Those that innovated have done extremely well. You know, an example of that is we actually had a client who was actually in the catering business. When we had the first shelter in place and some of the statewide mandates that limited gatherings, you can just imagine the toll that it took on this business. But however, they were really quickly able to pivot and began leveraging their inventory and some of their talent in a really clever way. What they did is they actually started reaching out to the local government and agencies and asked how they can supply meals for home delivery during the pandemic. So what they did is they got a contract, and suddenly the business had a new source of revenue, and they were really able to bridge the gap. The lessons that the pandemic has actually taught us about learning how to pivot to new and some of the changing demands in the marketplace has just been really just incredible. You know, those that have been able to pivot those that have been able to pivot and have done it well have actually been able to thrive.
Thank you so much for your insight, Ammre. I would agree. It's very inspirational when clients can pivot and continue to thrive. As a result of the pandemic, there's been new sources of capital that have emerged for our business owners, particularly in the area of SBA lending. Jonathan, can you briefly describe the programs and how business customers can think about that and using them?
Yes, Sara. There's been a whole bunch of new programs rolled out because of the pandemic, especially, like you said, in the SBA world. The SBA was originally formed as an independent agency of the federal government to allow small businesses better, faster access to capital. I think of the programs today and the environment we're in as a three-legged stool supporting small business owners in the U.S. economy. The first leg, which is the economic injury and disaster loans, which is applied for directly through the SBA and offers a 30-year term and a low fixed rate. Also, this is the only loan where lenders are not involved. The second leg of the stool, which was programs put in place because of the pandemic, is the Paycheck Protection Program and Main Street Lending. These loans are supplied and fulfilled through lenders in partnership with the SBA. The PPP loans were meant to retain and rehire employees, and Main Street Lending was to maintain business operations. To date, Bank of America has funded over $32 billion in PPP loans. The final leg in the stool is the mainstays, 504, 7A, and Express. These are non-disaster loans fulfilled through lenders. Lenders can become preferred lenders or retain PLP status, allowing them to approve SBA loans on behalf of the SBA. In fact, Bank of America is a preferred lender and consistently a top-ranked SBA lender in the country. These mainstays offer terms up to 25 years with as minimum as 10% down. This allows businesses to preserve cash and retain that during these uncertain times. Also, they're normally easier to qualify for.
Thank you so much for your insight, Jonathan. Can you talk a little bit about the SBA fees and add a little insight? That's a big question we get often.
Yeah, so there's kind of two moving pieces with fees and payment subsidy. I'll start off with the CARES Act. So the CARES Act allowed for debt relief of SBA loans, specifically 504, 7A, and Express, where the SBA would make payments on behalf of small businesses to the lender. There are certain qualifying restrictions, such as origination dates and a monthly hard cap. The other benefit to this is the Economic Aid Act, which is in place now, which allows 7A and Express loans, the SBA guarantee fees to be waived, and also on 504 loans, those fees to be partially waived. This is good until the end of September or the SBA fiscal year end, or until the funding runs out. With these benefits and paired with low rates, business owners should really evaluate SBA options as they look to manage through the pandemic and beyond.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. So as business owners are making key decisions about financing and their cash flow, their operations and growth, what advice would you give considering access to capital? Ammre, I'd love for you to talk about some of those things for us.
Absolutely. In this economic environment, really the foundations are really still the same. Businesses really need to have a business plan for responsible growth, and really understand the amounts and the use of what they're going to be financing, and really have a plan to repay it. But I think most importantly, they need to really have a strong relationship with their banker or their lender. We all know obviously some of that capital is obviously a very important piece, critical for growth. That's critical actually. And some of the challenges that business owners are facing today, access to capital is extremely vital and of any part of the plan for future growth. Really, businesses have to have a solid plan in place to determine the funding that they actually need. I think the key here is really to have a great talk with your banker, who's a trusted advisor, just like you would at your CPA or your attorney, and really understand what the plan is before they actually need funding. Having that strong relationship with a banker that can provide strategic guidance is really critical, so that when your business actually does need funding, you're really a prime candidate to receive it. In terms of what's actually new now, there's actually a few things to consider. Lenders right now are really looking more closely at financial forecasts and not just historical data. They actually may ask you questions that are like this. One may be, what are your sources of revenue, and do you have quality receivables, and are they reliable? Another one might be, obviously depending on the business you're in, how do you actually manage your supply chains, and are you actually prepared for any interruptions or potentially higher costs? Also, if you think about it, what strategies do these businesses have in place to keep their employees and their clients safe? Another one may be, how has your business been impacted? Are you fully operational? Are you partially operational? Or has your actual business expanded and grown during these difficult times? And another question that may be asked is, what did you actually learn during the pandemic? How have you modified your business strategy? And really, what lessons did you embrace and learn? I think the key is, lenders really need to understand how you're going to be sustainable through this pandemic and beyond. You got to be able to tell your story, whether it's a bank, an investor, and a financing partner. And the key is making sure that you have a trusted banker to really ensure that they give you the right vision.
Thank you so much, Ammre. Those are all very critical components in really gaining access to capital. So thank you for sharing. When we think about traditional bank financing, SBA loans and traditional financing are among the most attractive and least expensive to borrowers. When you think about it, you don't give up any equity to investors or ownerships if you were working with an investor. There are other unique sources in the marketplace where we can find loans or grants from nonprofit organizations. Heidi, can you talk a little bit about those for us?
Absolutely. Happy to. Thanks, Sara. Community development financial institutions, CDFIs, are an essential source of resources and capital throughout the country. CDFIs are mission-driven, nonprofit organizations providing loans and technical assistance to small businesses, affordable housing providers, fresh food supermarkets, primary health care centers, and community facilities in economically disadvantaged communities. They're dedicated to getting needed capital into the community, and what's most important for everyone to know is that their flexible lending requirements are typically less stringent than traditional banks, with more potential for maneuvering while working with borrowers. As such, they provide an important avenue for financing if you're struggling to be approved through traditional lending. As the largest investor in CDFIs in the United States, Bank of America is proud to have supported with more than $1.6 billion in loans and investments through over 250 CDFIs. This year alone, Bank of America provided $250 million in capital, as well as $10 million in grants to CDFIs across the country. Here locally, we're proud to partner with several in San Francisco, including Working Solutions, our recent neighborhood builder honoree. Nationwide, B of A's relationship with CDFIs enable us to effectively and affordably provide access to capital with an on-the-ground understanding of economic conditions, unique business needs, and community concerns. B of A is the only financial institution that has made an affirmative effort to establish CDFI relationships across every state to anticipate these community needs. If you're interested in locating a CDFI in your community, you can visit our website, www.bankofamerica.com/CDFI, where we have a searchable directory of CDFIs across the country. Business owners can also contact their local chamber or search online for CDFIs in their community.
Thank you so much, Heidi. Continuing on that theme of community commitment, Bank of America recently announced a $1.25 billion 5-year initiative to help advance racial equality and economic opportunity, with a particular focus on helping create opportunities for people in communities of color. Heidi, can you talk about that initiative and the areas of focus, as well as other programs we're leading to support businesses in the San Francisco community?
Oh, absolutely. I'm so proud to. Sara. And so we built on our $1 billion 4-year commitment from last year by adding an additional $250 million. The additional funds announced recently were to further support investments to address racial justice, advocacy, and equality for people and communities of color, including those of Asian descent. So when we think about that huge commitment as a company, there really are 4 key pillars of support. The first is really around health, addressing inequities of access to health care, including specific responses to COVID-19, with a focus on societal determinants of health. Our second big priority is really around workforce development and jobs. That involves training, upskilling, and reskilling our labor workforce and creating a long-term pipeline of talent for hiring. The third pillar, near and dear to all of our hearts, is of course small business. Supporting minority-owned small businesses, including our clients and our vendors, providing access and support through CDFIs, like we mentioned, and of course the small business support through PPPs that you heard about earlier. The fourth and final pillar of support in the community is really around that overarching theme of affordable housing, supporting organizations that develop affordable housing, both for rental and ownership, and of course, ongoing neighborhood revitalization, including supporting our arts and culture institutions, which are a key part of the economic and cultural vibrancy of any community, but especially here in San Francisco.
Thank you so much for sharing, Heidi. That does make me proud and excited of everything we're doing in the San Francisco community. I'd like to thank all of our panelists today for joining and for answering questions. Small business is the heart of our country, and we're very excited to talk about access to capital as we grow and rebound out of this pandemic. Thank you so much for joining today.
You're a small business owner, so you're resilient in the face of unexpected challenges. And now, an SBA loan from Bank of America can help you reimagine how you do business. As a small business administration preferred lender, we know how important it is for your business to consider a new approach when circumstances change. Our SBA-backed loans can help you pivot your business in a different direction, purchase or improve commercial real estate, fund new inventory, or purchase new equipment. Whether you need $25,000 or $5 million, SBA loans offer easier qualification, longer terms, and lower down payments on fixed assets than most standard loans. Our knowledgeable small business specialists are available to help determine if an SBA loan is right for you and how much you may need to take that next step. It's important to you to find new ways to do business and be prepared for the challenges to come. Keep your small business moving with an SBA loan from Bank of America. Speak with a small business specialist about SBA loans.